Hey everyone, welcome back to another video in this section about business risks. And in this video, we'll be talking about how to assess and overcome risks for your business. So if you remember in the last video, we talked about the various types of risks and the factors that lead to risks. But in this video, we're going to talk about how to overcome those liabilities. So let's get into the video. A risk assessment is used to describe the process of identifying if there are any potential risks for a business and what to do if or when a risk occurs. An assessment often consists of each type of potential risk, how likely each risk is to occur, and what to do if it does occur. And the main benefit and reason why we conduct risk assessments is that it'll be substantially easier to overcome risks if you can identify them beforehand, since you'll know exactly what to do when it happens. And moving on, I'll be going over the 5 main steps to take to assess and overcome risk for a business. The first step is identifying what risks exist for your business. We already went over this in the last section, so I won't talk too much about it, but it mainly focuses on looking at the possible risks you might face within and outside the company. The reason why this step is so important is because once we know what risks exist, it'll be easier to mitigate the risk if it happens. The second step is categorizing each type of risk we've identified. If you remember the last video, we talked about the 5 main types of risks: strategic, compliance, operational, financial, and reputational. Strategic is when a business strategy becomes less effective over time. Compliance is when a business fails to comply with governmental laws and regulation. Operational is when a business takes a hit in their day-to-day operations. Financial is when there's a change in market conditions that affects a business actions. And lastly, reputational is when the business's reputation is damaged because of an internal or external event. So the second step focuses on looking at each risk we've identified and then breaking them down into the 5 main categories. The third step is creating a method to mitigate risk, which means deciding what to do if this risk occurs. You could possibly have one person responsible for identifying and tackling risks within your business, like human resources, or you can give responsibility to other people for each specific category of risk. It's important to create a guideline or contingency plan on what should occur if your company is at risk, so you'll be able to clearly navigate your way out of a major loss and setback. The fourth step is to assess the impact of each risk. There's a very common phrase of if there's high risk, there's high reward. So each decision that you make with the risk may also come with a large payoff. For each risk that you've identified and categorized, it's important to look at the impact of this risk on your business's operations and see if this is balanced out by your company's operations. You should also look at the likelihood for each risk to occur to determine if it's important to send more resources to mitigate one specific type of risk. And once you've taken all these other steps, it's important that you regularly evaluate each risk because they're constantly changing and they're constantly being affected by external factors like market conditions or changes in government legislation. Most companies typically spend once a year to look at their risk, but if you're running a smaller business that has just launched, you might want to be looking at risks more frequently since there are more liabilities. And just to summarize this video, first we talked about what are risk assessments and why we conduct them. Next, we talked about the 5 steps to assess and overcome risks, which are identifying the main risks for your business, categorizing each one, creating a method to mitigate risks, assessing the impact of each risk, and regularly evaluating them. Hopefully this video was helpful in learning how a business overcomes risks, and I'll see all of you soon. Thank you.